Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 377 of Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, coming to you from Sandusky, Ohio, and this is the 17th of my 18 preview episodes for 2025. And in my previous 16, they're all posted up online. I hope you'll check them out and you'll give them a listen and share them with your friends. But this is my Carlton Blues preview, and I'm going to be joined by a dear friend of the podcast, Terry Dehghani from Blue Abroad. And for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while, I can't tout the efforts that Terry and his group do enough. They are right up there with several of the club-specific podcasts that do a phenomenal job representing their club. Right up there with Jake from St. Kilda and from Saints TV and the guys out at Purple Rain and the Hoops crew. They just do a phenomenal job. And I know I'm not mentioning all of them there, but I'm really looking forward to this one. And I do hope you'll consider sharing it with your friends and family as well. And hopefully you'll head over to my website at ayankonthefooty.com and get on the mailing list as well, so that when new episodes come out, they'll be in your inbox really quickly. And I will be putting out my 2025 ladder prediction episode this weekend as well. And it's going to be a little different from anyone that I've ever seen before because, quite frankly, this competition is, in many cases, so evenly matched this year. You could almost draw straws, and I'm going to do something almost just like that. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my chat with Terry Dehghani from Blue Abroad. I think you're going to like it. This gentleman is just an absolutely top-notch human being and a wonderful promoter of his club. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined again by a great friend of the podcast, somebody who I spoke with early on in this podcast journey and kind of told me that no, it wasn't a crazy idea for me to consider doing something like this. And this is Terry Dehghani from Blue Abroad. And Terry, thanks for carving out some time in your Friday morning to sit down and chat, sir.
Always got time for you, Craig.
I
I
appreciate
I
it.
like it. This is our yearly tradition.
I appreciate it. This is a load of fun. You know, I love talking to people who are passionate about their clubs, and as you know, I'm not somebody who, you know, likes to bash other clubs. I do wish they would have been just a little more patient a couple years ago when they hired Michael Voss, but that's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is what it is. But so I'm thrilled to have you back. Now, before we dive in and talk about the Blues this year, we need to spend a few minutes chatting about what you've been doing with your time over the last quite a few weeks because you were out of Australia and looking like you were having one heck of a time.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. Spent 2 months in Thailand from the essentially the 1st of January, and then
Hmm.
2 months onwards from there. Yeah, I was in Thailand training. It's did a Muay Thai camp up in the north, and then moved down to Koh Samui and trained a little bit more. And yeah, it was just really just to sharpen up the mind, the body, the soul,
Hmm.
because as I'm sure you're aware, the footy season, the work that gets done here on the channel as well, it just takes a lot out of you mentally and emotionally, and it's a roller
Yeah.
coaster. So it was very cool to go to a place where no one knows what AFL is. So
Uh-huh.
you have to almost become human again, and it gives you a window into who you are other than the football version.
So what you know first of all, for some folks, that Muay Thai is a martial art type thing. So what got you into this? What kindled this interest in Muay Thai with you?
Well, I've always wanted to go and do some sort of a fitness wellness
Hmm.
retreat camp in the middle of nowhere, something very secluded. And I found this particular camp last year, and I did 3 weeks there and loved it. And very early stages of my of learning the martial art,
Hmm.
and loved it so much. And when I got back last year, I felt like I still had more. I wanted to go for a little bit longer, and I felt like I could get a lot more out of it. So, yeah, just spent all of 2024, obviously, deep with the footy season. And then when it got to, end of 2024, start of 2025, I wanted to make sure that it was a long enough trip to go and train and really learn the technique. Last year, I got a little bit injured because my body just wasn't used to it.
Hmm.
And this year, stretching a lot helped throughout the year. And yeah, I mean, I loved it so much last year that I think I'll just make it part of my yearly routine. And it's interesting because content creators need to have a preseason as well as what the athletes do. So
That's a really good point. And so you did not go on this trip with anyone else. This was just you hopping on a plane. And I know you said you trained for 3 weeks the previous year. Did you go to the same place or did you go someplace different this year?
yeah, so I did 1 month, well, 4 weeks
Hmm.
at the same place,
Okay.
and then moved from there to Koh Samui. And in Koh Samui, the camp is you go there, you stay there, they cook for you. It's all inclusive.
Okay.
Whereas in Koh Samui, I was training at a number of different gyms. By that stage, I wanted to see what else was out there in terms of the style of training, and
Okay.
I felt like I got the basics down pat and the basic movements, and I wanted to, I think, just train with those who are a little bit more advanced, and just experience Thailand in a bit of a different way. But the main, I guess, the backbone of the trip was to train,
Yeah.
get healthy, get healthier, and really just sharpen up everything.
And do you feel like now that you're back that your skills have improved tremendously over where they were?
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, for sure. I mean, still so
Okay.
much to learn. I'm still very much at the start of the journey, but um, just different movements. We're not so used to kicking and moving our hips and twisting the way that you do when you kick. So yeah, last year I didn't feel like I wanted to keep the training up
Hmm.
while I was
Yeah.
in Melbourne, whereas this time I definitely will be keeping up the training because I want to go back again every year. And
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know. I don't at this stage. I want to learn it well enough so I can do a fight, just one.
Okay. Okay.
I think that'd
Well,
be an interesting challenge.
and it's kind of funny if somebody came in, if somebody just happened to walk into a room as you were talking about there, and they're realizing this is a footy podcast, and you said something about the effect that you weren't used to all this, kicking and such. I'm thinking, well, what kind of a footy player was he? But, but yeah. So, what was the best thing that you saw in terms of the sightseeing, and what was the most unique new cuisine that you tried while you were there that you were like, I can't believe I'm eating this, but it's actually pretty decent.
Oh, I don't think I ate anything too crazy or wild. A very simple dish called pad
Okay.
kha prao, which is essentially just steamed rice with minced beef and an egg on top and some chili. And it's just the way that they cook it.
Yeah.
So such a simple dish. So I ate a lot of that. A lot of people in Thailand or who go to Thailand eat pad thai, which I think I did a couple of times. But yeah, pretty basic. In terms of the sights, I mean, the temples are always great.
Hmm.
Always a great experience. I shot my first gun, Craig.
Wow.
Went to a shooting range. We shot a pistol, a shotgun, and an AR. So my first shot of any gun was the pistol, and I hit the bullseye straight in the middle.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
So maybe in
So
a past life, I was a
what was your reaction? I mean, because yeah, it's the gun culture in Australia and gun culture in the United States is just slightly different. As we were talking about off air, as we got started here, that my daughter's neighbor, had to pay for the repair damages to her apartment after he screwed up royal, and he's no longer training to be a police officer. By the way, he was let go. Uh,
I yep, I can
so
imagine.
yeah, so. What you think about the AR? Because that is kind of like the for people who are anti-gun, that's kind of the boogeyman here in the United States that people talk about that. And and the AR is just is just actually the like the acronym for the company that makes it, which is a company called Armalite.
Oh,
Is yeah. So that's what the AR that's where the AR comes from on that one. Yep.
yeah. I felt the AR quite fascinating how much power gets generated, and you don't
Hmm.
it was a weird feeling. It was like almost like a toy gun. It felt like,
Yeah.
whereas the shotgun, I mean, you clearly feel the jolt of
Oh
that.
yeah.
the pistol was interesting too. Good experience. I mean, I wouldn't say I have a passion or an obsession
Yeah.
for guns, but it was just something to do that I'd never done before.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and that's awesome. I mean, we had it was when I graduated from high school was kind of when these things were phasing out. But when I was in high school, we still had a rifle club at our school, and
Wow.
I shot on our school's rifle team. We go out and train at the conservation league, um, where people did a lot of gun safety things like that. There we went out and shot a couple times a week and shot in little tournaments and that sort of thing. And one of my teachers, who was the advisor for this group, who was actually an international champion for like muzzleloader guns, where you would actually you put all the materials, the gunpowder and that sort of thing into the barrel of the rifle. He was actually like a 10-time world champion muzzleloader target shooter when he was as a teacher. He's the reason I became a teacher, not because of the muzzle loading, that sort of thing, but the other stuff they did as a teacher. But so we're here to talk about your Carlton Blues, and 2024 did not end the way that you wanted. And but interestingly enough, I'm sure those last 8 weeks of the season you were thinking, can this be over sometime soon? Because it's just like the club kind of fell off a cliff, losing 7 out of their last 8 before they got to the finals. Uh, did you? Was there part of you that thought, you know what, maybe this you were relieved that the club made finals, or were you thinking we really don't deserve to be here based upon our performance at the end of the season?
No, I felt that we deserved to make the finals because it was the sum of the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's
You
such a
started out
fascinating
well.
thing yeah, it's such a fascinating year to reflect on because they built so much belief in the first two-thirds of the season. I mean, you're sitting 11-4.
Yeah.
We'd won games that we'd usually drop in the past. Um, I mean, some of the losses that we had were pretty close. I mean, the Adelaide game was pretty close. Both Collingwood games were pretty close. And so at that point, even when we started losing a few games, I didn't really panic, or I didn't really have a concern until the Hawthorn loss, which was you just split open at the seams and everything fell apart that day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so many injuries and things like that. Um, and it was weird. Yeah, it was definitely weird. And then you get to the final few games, you qualify. I mean, we lose to St Kilda, which was just a weird day because we've been knocked out of finals, and then Port Adelaide beat Fremantle, and then you're back
Yeah.
in the finals,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, so it was weird.
So have you ever, I don't know if you've watched the TV series Stranger Things or not, but
Yeah.
it's a Netflix show. You went and faced Brisbane in the prelim. I mean, you and Brisbane were kind of like the same club, but in the upside down. Because they started out so horrible at the start of the year, and then just came on like gangbusters at the end of the season. It's I don't know if maybe if you'd finished it at a spot where you guys were able to play it as a home final, that maybe it ended up being a different result than having to go up to the GABA. But um, you know, it didn't end the way you wanted. You made finals, which again, there are 10 other clubs that would have been happy to trade positions with you to play a cutthroat final that didn't get the chance to do so. Uh, but looking at this year, as you mentioned off air, there are some injuries that are concerning. One of them is, as we said, one you can't take care of this year, but a couple actually with Mark Pittman, I guess, mixed in there too. You hope get resolved very quickly, because anytime you see, Charlie Curnow's name not on a magnet, it's got to give pause to any Blues supporter worth their salt. They've got to be a little concerned about, um, wait a minute, he's not back yet, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean Charlie in particular, he's a top line player in the competition.
Hmm.
So you know that when he's in the team, if he plays a full season, he can be the difference maker in, up to 5 or 6 games a year, and like, a real difference maker. And we've also been on this journey with Charlie where he misses two and a bit years, and we didn't even know if we were ever going to get him back. So we get him back for a few seasons now, almost three Colemans in a row, and yeah, to me there's a deeper issue at play, and that's just the management of these injuries and the management of
Hmm.
these players. And I might be wrong, but I just have this feeling with Charlie that it's just the lingering effects of mismanagement from last year, and he's been playing through pain. And it's hard because obviously he's a competitor. I'm sure he wants to play absolutely every game that he can. And so it's always a guessing game what goes on into that discussion around the management of these players and trying to weigh up
Do you
the
feel
risks.
do you feel like as in his case, since he missed so much time, due to the injuries that he'd had, and if I'm not mistaken, it was from a basketball injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, there's a number of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you think that he looks at that and thinks, I've only got a finite number of years left, so I need to do everything I possibly can in the time that I still have available to play this game at the highest level. And maybe he's pushing himself extra hard. And as you said, maybe the management of these things has not said, wait, back off. Let's slow things down, take a little break here, you know, let's give you a chance to recover for this little niggle here or there, rather than just going, for lack of better terminology, balls to the wall, 100 kilometers an hour, you know, or I guess it'd be 150 kilometers an hour. I guess actually be a better translation there. But
Yeah.
all together, I wonder if there's anything like that in the back of his mind.
Probably, look, maybe. And I mean, the thing with Charlie, I mean, he had the sore ankle all throughout 2024 for the
Hmm.
majority of the year. And I mean, he still kicked 57 odd goals. So even when he's not at his full health, he's still one of the best forwards in the game. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
still commands the best defender on the other team. So
hmm, yeah,
play a
and
role.
and it's yeah, and he's and you've got a pretty decent double-headed monster up there with he and young Mr. Mackay as well. I mean, it's a there aren't very many clubs in the competition that if somebody went to them and said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and allow you to take Kurnow and Mackay for your forward line for your two key forwards." There aren't very many clubs that would say, "Now we'll stand pat here with what we've got."
Yeah.
So I mean that's a really good thing to have. So yeah,
It's a
but it's
luxury, and there's no
yeah,
doubt about that.
yeah. I mean it's yeah I Brisbane might turn out being okay this year with some of these youngsters that are going to be coming in there. But when Joe Danaher announced his retirement, if somebody come along and said, "Well, we'll trade Hipwood and whoever your other key forward is going to be for Kurnow and Mackay," Brisbane may have very well jumped on that really quickly. Uh, but they may figure out the other one before it's all said and done. But it's you guys. On paper, you're as talented as and maybe even more talented than any other club in the comp. But you definitely have to ensure that you don't have those rough patches like you had towards the end of the season, if at all possible. So what are the expectations for the club this year, and where do you see things going?
I was actually asked this by I did a video for another YouTuber, and he asked me to do like a prediction. What does my head say and what does my heart say? And
Hmm.
it's a really interesting and unique answer that I've never felt before. So my head, my logic tells me this group has been together. The core of it has been together for so long
Hmm.
now to the point where it should be an advantage because the synergy should be there. They've had a number of pre-seasons together, heartbreaks, experiences, triumphs. And so logically, I think this team, and what you just said about what it looks like on paper, I think this team logically should be ready to contend for that top four slot and
Hmm.
win 15, 16, 17 or more games a year. We also, again, on paper, but you never know until the season plays out. I think the draw is favorable given we don't have any 5-day breaks and not too many 6-day breaks early in the year. So logically, I say, yeah, this is a team that can finish third. But
Hmm.
my heart, like if I'm being totally honest with myself and with you, my heart tells me that there's just something about this club. I just don't know if we've got the championship minerals and if we're able to withstand, um, something that can, rock us off our path. Now,
Right.
2023, I thought we had overcome a really big hole that we had dug ourselves, and I thought we'd made some progress.
Hmm.
Obviously, the way that season ended was the first time I'd seen this team and this club really dig deep and pull through. And then I felt 2024 was it almost seems innocuous the way it just fell off. Like, I mean, the easy answer is we just got injured, but I don't think it was just the injuries. I think it would be a bit of a cop out if we blamed the end of 2024 just on injuries. So I'm left now a little unsure. And
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing because I'm sure, as you're aware, you've been covering the game for so long. Carlton supporters can project more than what we can live in reality. So
I
maybe this is what we needed.
I have heard I haven't seen it firsthand, but I have heard other people mention it. Uh,
Mm.
Supporters of other clubs have let that leak from time to time. So it's
Yep.
yeah, it's
Yep.
I have a friend who's a Richmond supporter who's after their practice match with Collingwood the other night, it's just down in the dumps, and I was like, he said this reminds me of the previous 37 years. I said, well, take a moment and think back. First of all, you got three premierships in the last few years you can rest on. I said to think about all those years when they were struggling. Are you more optimistic now than you were during any of those years? Because you guys just reloaded your list with a lot of young talent. And I said, and again, I don't know what was going on 30 years ago with the club. I mean, I've had a couple people on the podcast that were around playing then, but you know, I think that you've got to the glass has got to be half full, and there's a little drip that's going in there a little bit right now with this club. Yeah, you're gonna take your lumps for a while as the kids are having the growing pains. And he was like, well, that's true. That kind of makes me feel a little bit better. I said, good, because I said, I don't know if you follow the NFL at all, but I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and we suck. I'm sorry.
The breath you just took. I feel it. It's
we
in the
we
depths of
are
my soul.
we are so bad. We are in, we have salary caps here. We have a player that they traded three first round draft picks for and then gave $250 million fully guaranteed contract to. $250 million. Okay. He played 19 games in the first three seasons. He's now torn his Achilles tendon twice in the last 3 months. Will probably never play for them again, but they still owe him about $140 million of this contract.
Oh my, who's that? What's his name?
Deshaun Watson used to play with the Houston Texans. Yes,
Wow.
you might have heard about him in the news. He was the player that was accused of sexual improprieties, I think, with every single massage therapist in the United States, or 23 of them anyway. It just seemed like it was every one of them in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Oh, it's been ugly. It has been ugly because if they cut him, they have to pay him his entire contract out right then, which would be like another $150 million right then. They have to give him all the money because it's a guaranteed contract. So it's yeah, Brett Ratton's going, what about those guaranteed contracts that I didn't get any of my money when I left St. Kilda? But
A different world,
so
isn't it?
yeah, oh it is, yeah. So um I like the head and heart thing there, and I if and I guess I have to ask because is it put up or shut up time for Michael Voss? Is his seat going to be warm this year if the club is not a top four side? I mean, if they
Yeah,
say
the
if they
seat.
okay, go ahead.
I think the seat will be warm if we don't make the top four.
Okay.
I mean, there is a reality where you can still make. I mean, I believe in order for I mean, I'm just guessing, but I think general consensus would be we've got to get ourselves into the final four. So whether
Hmm.
that means finish top four and make the prelim or don't finish top four, we've got to find ourselves in that final four. I understand winning a premiership's incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
and you've got to give yourself the best chance. And so we've got to get to preliminary final weekend, play at the MCG, and then obviously, anything can happen there. Yeah, the heat will come if we don't play finals.
Hmm.
I do fear for him. I'm a believer in Michael Voss. I believe he is the man to do it. I believe he knows what it takes to win, and that means you've got to go through the struggle and the failures. And I think he's got all the minerals to do it. But yeah, for sure, the pressure's on.
Now, is there, and you talked about, the head and heart thing. You think that, the club has the capabilities, the talent pool and such to be a top four side to, to win, as you said, 14, 15, 16 games. Can the club have a season you look back on as being successful, even though they don't finish in the top four and don't play in a prelim? Can it still can you still find where it's that you would be able to look at things and say this was a successful year, even if those things didn't happen?
We would have to win at least a final. So that would be win a final
Hmm.
and then potentially lose in a semi-final. Would that still be a success? Oh, it's really hard to it's really hard to answer that. It's a really hard one to answer. I mean, when I look at Carlton, the biggest thing that will stop Carlton, in my view, is Carlton. Like, can we get out of our own way?
Hmm.
Because we've got, I mean, the organization is just made up of so many parts, and you've got so many different interests. Like, this is a business, and I understand the
Right,
business
right.
of sport. Um, and, winning games and winning premierships is important. But I also feel this notion with Carlton, if I'm being honest, like, we could not win a premiership and still be profitable and still be seen as a successful organization and,
Yeah.
make $3 million profit on the year. And I sometimes wonder, is that getting in the way? I mean, are we really that desperate to win a premiership? We've got 16 of them. Like, who do we need to prove ourselves to? And there's so many different factors now with the organization. There's the social responsibility that we have, and ticking those boxes, and being profitable, and so it's just all tied in. And then it almost feels sometimes that the winning the games part is important, but also we'll still be a successful organization without winning.
But winning's more fun, of course.
Yeah, winning's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
fun,
At
but
least that's
making
what.
money is
Yeah, yeah.
seemingly more important.
See, that's the interesting thing about like the NFL is that the teams all get these, huge sums of money from the NFL from the TV deals. So that the guys the people that own the teams, they make all their money back, whether their
Yeah,
team is any good or not.
yeah.
So you could have the second to worst team in the league last year, which I would argue we were actually the worst, and the owner still made a profit,
Mm.
and they sold darn near every ticket in the stadium every single game, even though they were putrid.
Hmm.
Just yeah. Think about the worst footy team you have ever seen, and then cut their abilities by about 25%. You would have seen, you know, the Cleveland Browns last year. I mean, they were they
Goodness
were that
me.
they're that no, they're just god awful. Yeah, terrible, terrible, terrible. So, um, you who are you looking at as being of course, Charlie Curnow's knee getting healthy, I think is extraordinarily is maybe the most important thing. But who else besides him are you looking at as being kind of the key, the barometer, if you will, for the club that's going to tell you, okay, this club's going in the right direction. It may not be, that everyday name that everybody's going to see. Okay, a lot of people go, oh, it's going to be, Patrick Cripps, but maybe it's somebody that's nobody's ever thought of that you're looking at going, if this guy's going well, we're doing just fine.
Yeah, so there's a group of them, and I love how you asked that question because yeah, it's no longer about the individuals with this team. I think the top end talent is good enough to match with the rest of the top end talent in the league. But there's, the group of, if I was to give you 4 or 5 names, and if we get to the end of the year and this group of people has played, 20 plus games and they've had career best years, I think we will be a really strong team. And I think
Mhm.
of guys like Lockie Fogarty. I think of guys like Matt Cottrell. I think of guys like Lockie Cowan. I think of guys, even, Jesse Motlop to an extent. And then I think of a guy like, like Nick Haynes. And I look at these guys and I think if what we get from these guys is career best years, because Patrick Cripps is great, Jacob Wiedering is great. I think Harry Mackay, in a weird way, can sometimes be undervalued. Maybe that's because Charlie Curnow takes some of the spotlight from him. But I kind of know that I'm going to get elite production from these types. So Fogarty, Cottrell, Ollie Hollands, Cowan, Jesse Motlop. What we get from these guys this year, I think will tell the story of how far Carlton can get. Because it's not our ceiling that's the question. It's our floor. Because if the floor can raise, then we'll become a much more consistent team.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, Kurnow, outshining, Mackay from time to time. I mean, that Kepler planet has more than two suns, and I'm sure one of those two suns out there shines just a little bit brighter, but they're both still shining rather brightly.
Yep.
Just you might be able to discern one from the other. But and you mentioned Matt Cottrell, and I was looking as I was taking my notes here that I'd made, and I think I got this from either Zero Hanger or from Sporting News. I mean, they don't even have him listed as the club's best 22 in the best 22 this year.
Yeah.
So it's is he going to find his way? Is he going to find his way into the lineup? Is I guess the next thing, and you hope you know you hope that you want to be able to be, if in a perfect world you'd like to be able to say, okay, here's my best 22, and I'm able to write their names on the magnets all 23 rounds, and you don't have any injuries. And I mean, that's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen for anybody because you're always going to have injuries here and there. But um, and I know you were out of the country, and I don't know how much you were staying in touch with what was going on with the club. But this young man that came in as your top pick, Jagga Smith, was somebody that the club was really looking to, I think getting incorporated into the side. Had looked like he'd really started to make a name for himself, and had the unfortunate knee injury that's going to postpone his start to his career till next year. Was he? Do you think he was going to be able to find himself in a half dozen games or a dozen games during the course of the year this year? Do you think he's going to be able to force his way in?
Yeah, I mean, my best guess would be I thought he would play, yeah, at least a dozen games.
Okay.
I don't think he would be the difference between us winning a premiership or not, but I do think, his profile and the way he moves and the angles that he creates and the space that he creates, our ball movement throughout the midfield was going to change. So I do think he was going to help with that. Ultimately, it's not going to happen. We're going to have to wait
Yeah.
at least 12 months. But I do think that when he comes back and the way that he plays the game, I think we'll see a different style of ball movement.
Okay. Now, I've not asked this question of anybody else at this point, but it just kind of popped into my head, and I thought this would be an interesting one to ask you. What is one thing that you wish, if over the last decade, what's one thing that you wish that the Blues could do over? That you were like, oh, that was really dumb. We shouldn't have done that. Can we go
Oh,
back and just hit a reset button and start over from there and come back to the present day?
where do you start, Craig?
Well, you got to pick the most egregious one, I guess. What's the one thing
Oh, the most egregious one? Well, I really wish I didn't see my president's dick at the start of this year.
uh not exactly okay. I guess now I'm really glad I asked that question. No. Um
Yeah.
I I guess if I was a really inappropriate person, I could have said, well, at least you were not a fan of a couple of the other clubs in the AFL where that may have not have been an issue over the last couple of years. But I'm not going to say that because I'm going to stay above the fray there. Uh,
Yeah. No, I mean, if I if I was to say like the football, I mean, I think I think holding on to some of these injury-prone players for as long as we did, I think I would go there. I mean, we are an organization that is loyal to our people, and that is a
Yeah.
good trait to have. But
Okay.
also, it's funny because we'll talk about the business of sport with Carlton in certain areas, but when it comes to the business of winning, we have this leniency. So yeah, probably just making
Okay.
more
Okay. So I'm
cutthroat decisions
my
earlier.
my my twisted brain right here is thinking he's talking about having seen the team president's dick and then goes on to talking about holding on to things too long. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Craig.
Oh, I cannot believe I okay, that is I don't know if I can actually cut that into a little piece to put it like as the little preview snippet of the episode. Like, hey, make sure you check out this episode so you can figure out just where in the hell this came up in the conversation. And
Uh,
feel free to quote yourself on your own show because that was oh my goodness, that is I was not thinking that at all. My first thought was, oh, we shouldn't have let Eddie Betts go. That's where my brain was going. But
it's still fresh in the
oh,
memory, Craig.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And again,
No.
I now that I'm done laughing about it, I completely missed that story. So where did that even come about?
Where you? Well, I was in Thailand. I tried to not film anything. I tried to get away
Yeah.
from football and whatever. This photo comes up on the profile. 10 minutes later, there's a suggestion that the account's been hacked. But we all know that if you're hacked, you can't access your account 10 minutes later. And then he resigned
Oh
from
my.
his post, two
Well,
weeks
okay.
restricted.
Okay. I knew that they'd got. I didn't realize the reasons as to why that happened.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I obviously was caught up in other things that were going on at that time and um got caught with my pants down and not picking up that information.
all right, mate. I'm here to fill you in. So,
You
yeah.
just
So the year has
you
started
keep feeding me
off.
the straight lines there, and I'll
Yeah,
try.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll keep it real every time. No, I mean, so the year has started off really interesting because there's this frustration with how things ended last year
Yeah.
and amongst the supporter base. And then I feel like collectively a lot of people just completely disconnected and switched off. Fair enough, off season. And then we get to January and then this little or big incident happens. And then we get some injuries. And so this reminder of the frustration with the club, I'm watching it. I mean, I'm feeling it myself. And so we're getting to the starting line of round one, and we're filming this on a Friday, and we're about to play the practice match later tonight. But
Yeah.
we're going to get to round one, and there'll be no patience
Yeah.
for any fuckery. So
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I so you I'm trying to figure out how to work a really, really inappropriate blue balls joke into this right now, but I'm not exactly sure where to put it in
I've
there.
set you off, mate. This is fantastic.
So, so I think we need to maintain our decorum here
Yeah.
and regain that. So are we and I mean that tongue in cheek. But are you worried about one of your players becoming a saint? See how I did that there? Uh,
Uh,
is there serious concern about Tom DeConing accepting this offer from the Saints?
nah, not really. I'd be stunned if he was to
Okay.
go to St Kilda. I would
Yeah.
be stunned. I just think what a club like St Kilda, for example, could offer him in terms of a playing contract, and yeah, it seems very lucrative if the reports are accurate. I think they can't offer him the type of network that he would be tapped into at Carlton and the opportunities that he would be able to be exposed to if he was at Carlton. So, and I just truly believe he loves the club so much, and he's going to make a lot of money wherever he plays, whether it's at Carlton or not. And so I just, yeah, I'd be stunned if he left. I think once Cripps re-signed for his long-term deal in 2021, I've always felt like the rest would follow suit.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? Maybe since Geelong supposedly has a bottomless salary cap, maybe we figure out a way to work him in down there with his brother if he's
Yeah,
not at the Gold
yeah.
Coast. So, um, who do you see uh being a player that ends up becoming a huge contributor to the club that has not previously been? So basically, who's going to, break down the door and get their name written on their magnet in ink rather than in pencil?
Mm, mm.
Or is
Well,
there
I
anybody?
mean,
Because you've got such a talented list. I mean, it may be really difficult for somebody to get more than a handful of games here and there.
yeah, I'm really excited by Cooper Lord, and I think now that Jagger's going to miss the year, we don't have Matt Kennedy anymore, and
Hmm.
things like that. I think a guy like Cooper Lord can go from penciled in to inked in. I mean, Lockie Cowan played quite a few games last year anyway, but I think he'll go up another level. And maybe on the other end, I mean, Adam Chera is already a player that you ink in and you lock him
Yeah.
in.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just think
Yeah.
he's ready to really fulfill his potential, and we'll see the best version of Adam Chera that we've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have a midfield that a lot of people are envious of. I mean, let's
Yeah,
just be completely honest about it there.
yeah,
Um, so it is just, I think health is the biggest issue. I mean, you don't have a lot of weaknesses. You really don't.
mm, mm.
And it's just so um what are and look, just real quick, looking at your schedule, the fixture for this year, you've got a kind of a mixed bag. I mean, in terms of like who you're doubling up against. And again, you got to play the games as they're presented to you. But you got both West Coast and North Melbourne that you're playing twice. You've got Essendon, and Essendon they looked pretty decent against the Cats the other night. I actually finally just finished watching that one today. I've been so busy I hadn't had a chance to watch yet. Collingwood, who I'll be honest with you, between you, me, and the wall, and everybody else listening, I don't think Collingwood plays finals this year. I think this is the year. I think
Wow.
this is the year that they are just a little too old, and I don't think they have enough scoring. I mean, I love Brody Myachek, but I think anybody would love to have a Brody Myachek on their club because he does everything pretty darn well. But I don't know if he could be your key forward that you're going to lean on to kick 50, 55 goals for your club.
Yeah.
I just think that they've got so. And again, I'm a 61-year-old man, and I'm calling guys who are in their early to mid 30s old. I mean, that still just hurts my brain to do that. Um, but in terms of footy, I wonder if they're all going to kind of hit the wall at the same time, so to speak.
Yeah.
And if they do, I mean, it could get really ugly for them, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, age means experience. I think
True, true.
Geelong, for
Yeah, yeah.
example, they've been tagged, labeled with that old tag for so long, and
Dad's
they
Army.
just
Yeah,
keep showing you that it's a
yeah.
marathon, not a sprint. They know how to manage their bodies. They know how to manage the season.
That's a
So,
good
and I
point.
think while Pendlebury's still playing, I just think they've got such IQ on the
Yeah,
field.
that's
So,
fair. Yep,
yeah.
yep. So, um, what are your what's your bold prediction for the club in general, and also then for the league? What are the things that you want to plant your flag and you want to say, damn it, this is happening, and people are going to maybe kind of raise a bit of an eyebrow. I mean, I kind of gave you one off air that was, maybe it was on air. I don't know about a certain club that I think has a shot at playing finals. And I know a lot of people have thought that must have been spending a little too much time out here in the cold this winter.
Well, from Carlton, I think Harry. I mean, it's hard. I actually predicted Cripps to win the Brownlow in my season preview
Yeah.
last year. So I think Harry Mackay is going to win the Coleman Medal, and I
Okay.
think he's going to kick 70 to 75 goals this
Okay.
year. I think that the light will shine on Harry in a really big way. So that's the Carlton story. And then in terms of the league, hmm. I mean, there is this hotness around the Giants, which I get it.
Hmm.
I really do. But I also at times don't. And so I just think the Giants How about this for bold? I'll go bold. They won't play finals.
Wow.
Something
Okay.
it'll fall apart. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
go
That
against the
means,
grain.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's we're back to the Stranger Things upside down thing about, the two clubs that we just tipped to not play finals there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wow, that's a big, and the Giants is the last preview I'm doing on Saturday. I haven't done that one yet. That's my last
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um, Part of me thought I would just go ahead and just release my ladder and say the order that I tipped them in, I was going to go 1 to 18, but because I mean last year actually I did tip Brisbane to win the flag last year,
Ah,
so
very good.
I got that one right, but I got a lot of other things wrong. But
Very good.
I seem to remember in what 2023 my tip for the Coleman was Todd Marshall, and that did not go very well.
Yeah. Oh, the other one is Sydney. I haven't decided if it's the Giants or Sydney that'll
Huh?
slide.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Swans. Maybe I've just got the wrong team. But very curious around how that grand final played out.
maybe it's just the whole state.
Maybe
They
it's
could
the
just both
collapse of
slide.
Sydney.
Maybe they both slide out and then Gold Coast slides in or something like that. Who knows?
Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean that's kind of been a little topic for everybody that we've had on. Is that I think the league almost needs Gold Coast to play finals to show something for the investment that they've
Yeah.
put into that club. That they
Totally.
almost they're like Dema, we kind of whispered into your ear, hey, come take this job, let's turn this club around finally. That way people won't give you grief about having to walk all the way over to Marvel Stadium once or twice a year, from Punt Road. You can take a bus there, fly in, that sort of thing. But I think they almost have to make finals, this year or next, just to validate the investment that the league has made in that club. And I think they're close to being there. I mean, again, I think they're in that group of 16 clubs. Yeah, I think St. Kilda's a talented side, but I just saw that Max King underwent some minor knee surgery, and I just I wonder how long is he going to be out. That seems to be something like that happens all the time with him. So, are you ready for a little bit of Blues trivia here before we wrap up?
I'm ready. This is
Okay,
tough. I remember last year it was very tough. So let's see how
okay,
we go.
alrighty. Um, I tried to go with some really, really simple questions this year for you. Okay. I
Okay.
tried. I don't know if I succeeded or not. So, um, you had five players that averaged 20 plus disposals for the club last year. Who were they? And they all played. I think, at least 18 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. 20 or more.
20 plus.
So
Yep.
Cripps,
Yep.
Walsh,
Yep.
Newman,
Yep.
Hewitt,
Yep. And you got him in order so far too.
average 20.
From West Perth.
Oh, Blake Acres.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
Now
named them in order of
you did
highest to
you
lowest.
highest to lowest of the top five. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, you did well on that one. So, who had the highest average amount of one percenters for the club last year with 6.6?
One percenters.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Ollie Hollins?
It was not. It was not.
Was it Blake?
Mm-mm.
One percenters.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a midfielder?
Nope. He's
Is
not.
he a defender?
He is a defender.
Is that Nick Newman?
Nope. The Mount
Wiedering?
Eliza. Yep. Jacob Wiedering. Yeah. The Mount
Ah,
Eliza Football Club. Yep.
there you go.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Okay. So you had two players that averaged 93% time on ground last year or higher. Who were they?
Wiedering
Uh-huh.
and Wiedering and
Another def-
93% time on ground. Goodness.
another. There was one of the clubs had somebody who was at 99.06.
Goodness me.
Yeah,
Um,
they never left the ground.
Wiedering and
Another defender,
Newman?
Brody Kemp.
Sard?
Brody Kemp.
Oh, Brody Kemp. Really?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Okay. In the club's history,
Hmm.
have they won more games at Waverly Park or at Docklands?
Waverley Park.
Yep. 73 wins and 52 losses and one draw. And at Docklands, 67 wins and 109 losses.
Yeah, we haven't got a I mean, we kind of started bucking that trend a few years ago at
Hmm.
Docklands or Marvel, but yeah, generally it's not been great.
Okay. This one, I'm very confident you're going to get this one. Okay. Actually, that one's from last year. I meant to delete that one, actually. There we go. Um, this 251 game player kicked the most goals in Blues history.
Most goals in Blues history.
With 738.
Sticks?
That's a nickname. You give me a full name. I don't know
Oh,
nicknames.
sorry. Was it Steve Kernahan?
It was Steve Kernahan. Yeah, I guess the SK that I can see where sticks would come from there. Yep, that's who
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't do nicknames very well. Um. So okay, two more for you here. These three players, they all played at least 18 games, averaged more than 400 meters gained last year.
Who?
Yeah, they were three that averaged more than 400 meters gained per game last year.
Nick Newman,
Yep.
Blake Acres,
Uh-huh.
and Mitch McGovern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and the last question. This is going back a little bit, but not too far.
Okay.
This 202 game player who began his Blues career in 2004 was their youngest debutant in the 21st century. And he debuted in 2004. And he played 202 games for the club.
Debuted in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Betts,
Nope.
David Teague. He debuted in 2004 and played 202 games.
Played 202 games, kicked 139 goals. He played through 2016.
Um, Andrew Carazzo,
You got the Andrew part right?
Andrew Walker.
There you go. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. He
Yeah,
debuted at 17 years, 342 days. Yep.
there you go.
So
His
he
son will
was
be playing for us in a few years.
okay. Okay. It's so how are you with the father son thing? Yeah, because I know a lot of Victorian fans, and I've had this discussion with people involved with Sydney and GWS and Gold Coast about the academies and such up there because it tends to, you know, as I said, especially with like Gold Coast and GWS, it's going to be another generation, if you will, before they have any father sons type situations there. So are you okay with the academy stuff there to kind of level the playing field a little bit there as far as that goes, or is that
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, obviously not every club has the same, like it's never equal, but I
yeah,
mean, Carlton receive benefits in other areas that other clubs don't, when it comes to,
yeah,
pulling power for crowds, which allows us to negotiate for more games at the MCG, things like that. So, overall, I don't believe that there is such thing as a completely fair and equitable competition. Like that's just life.
Right,
The
right.
reality of life is it's just not fair. It's never going to be fully equal. But yeah, so I wouldn't. I'm not complaining.
Okay, that works. So before we wrap up here, where can people find Blue Abroad, and what have you got planned for this year? And for people, and first of all, if you're a Carlton supporter and you don't know who Blue Abroad is as of yet, if you've not followed this channel, I'm going to ask you a serious question. Where the hell have you been? Okay. Uh, just put it out there. So for just for that one person that's out there that has just climbed out from under the rock, or they've been Rumpelstiltskin and they woke up after their 20-year nap, whatever it is, tell us about Blue Abroad. Where can they find it, and what can they expect from you and your mates this year?
Yeah. So look, Blue Abroad is on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But the magic happens on YouTube. Daily videos, daily live streams at nighttime. We
Hmm.
cover every single angle of the club. We react to every piece of news. We do a live show Monday night. We do a live show for the teams. We do a live show after the game called the fan cams, where people call in and share their thoughts about the game. We do a lot. We've got some really cool people. You can't mention Blue Abroad without mentioning Pommy and the great work that he does, not only for Blue Abroad, but just for the Carlton community and now the wider footy community. So, big pillar of what we do is thanks to him as well. So, yeah, jump on YouTube, Blue Abroad.
Yeah, you guys, and your website. What's your website's address also? Because I know that you can go there as well, and you've got all your
Yeah,
links.
blueabroad.com.au is the website.
I'll put.
You
I
find me
will.
there, find us
I'll
all there.
definitely have that in the show notes. But it's it is awesome, and I know it happens with teams here in the U.S. But again, I don't watch truthfully. About 2% of my sports viewing is stuff that happens here in the United States anymore.
Well,
I mean, it's the rest of it is it's footy, and I have also become highly enamored with cricket over the last few years as well. So it has been haven't tried the Muay Thai again because I don't have a schedule yet to get a hip replacement or anything like that. But but it's just it is awesome to see the passion and the hard work that folks like yourself with Blue Abroad and the other club specific podcasts and shows, like Jake from Saints TV and the guys from Purple Rain and the Hoops crew, and I'm missing the Tiger Big Footy cast, and just it's just there's so many that are out there. The True Blood guys with and the Crowjack. I mean, people that I had on. You do a phenomenal job promoting your club, and it's just it's again one of those things that I have absolutely fallen in love with this sport, with this competition, is that the fans who have the tech savvy and the time and the interest in doing things like you do are so passionate about it, and the clubs are in most cases extraordinarily receptive to it as well, and it's just an awesome thing, and I think it truly is something that we could learn a lot from here in the United States when it comes to sports media and things of that nature. I think we could learn a hell of a lot from what these individual club shows do, and I tip my cap to you guys. I tip my cap to every one of these people that I've had the chance to speak to that do these shows, and it's just wonderful that you guys put the time and effort into these things.
thank you, mate. And you know what? I mean, it's easy on this side of the world because we live in the footy, especially if you're in Melbourne. I mean,
Hmm.
footy's everywhere. You cannot escape it.
Yeah.
And so for someone like you, what you do for the game, being where you are in the world and covering it the way that you do, I mean, I'm so excited for. I mean, the groundwork is being done. This is a long, long game that we're playing here
Yeah. Yeah.
in the content world. So I'm just so excited for you to, get your real reward and flowers because,
Um,
to have someone like you promoting the game from the US is truly incredible.
Fingers
And
crossed.
the time will come. There's no doubt
Fingers
about
crossed.
that.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, I am almost 62. Uh, but but it's awesome. When I went into this, it was to help to try to encourage, fellow Americans to check out this game. And I've converted a few, but then I was looking at some of my listening data on my host, and I just looked at the last 2 years, and I've had people in 70 different countries actually listen to the podcast over the last couple of years. Like,
Yeah, man.
holy cow. I mean, I think this month, of course, the US, Canada, or Australia, US, Canada are my top three. Singapore is always number four. There's somebody in Singapore that loves the show, and I tip my cap to those of you who are listening in Singapore. I had like 2% of my listeners this month are in Ukraine. Like, holy mackerel. Yeah, it was like, I hadn't seen them pop up at all before. So I mean, it's kind of interesting. So I'm if you're out there in Ukraine and you're listening, give me a shout out. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Terry,
absolutely.
I can't thank you enough for being the friend of the podcast that you've been. I think a great mate. That whenever I reach out to you, you are always quick to respond, and it's just I'm so glad that I ran into you on Twitter, several years ago when I first started putting this idea out there, because I think you were the second person to actually reach out to me when I talked about starting this podcast, and you didn't you were not that, hey, you dumb Yank, just no, it's a dumb idea. You didn't do that, and I can't thank you enough for that. Um, it's yeah, I love doing this, and I love being able to talk to folks like you that love your clubs and just love the game in general as well, and just the passion that you have for the game in general. It's such an awesome thing to see, and I just can't thank you enough, man.
Pleasure. It's good to be on the journey together, mate. We're doing something. We're doing something for the game, and we're contributing.
We are, and I'm if I could just get my wife to watch just a moment of it. I thought, okay, Bailey Smith's playing with the Cats now.
Yeah.
He's a handsome guy. Didn't I mean, I did that. I did that a few years ago. I found a couple of news articles where clubs were training at the beach, and it was a Hawthorne article, and they were all training in the beach in their budgie smugglers, and there was Jaeger O'Meara, and I was like, okay, he's a handsome guy, and I sent the articles to her. Didn't move the needle at all. So she's not interested. She didn't like Bailey Smith's mullet, so that was the
Fair.
turnoff there. I was like, okay. I suggested that maybe the Cats figure out this year how to have their jumpers with a fewer hoops in them, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
can just kind of have his his abs sticking out, and that'll help the young female membership
Yeah,
for the
look,
club,
chop,
maybe
chop.
boost a little bit there. Maybe add a few more seats at the stadium. But
Yeah.
I don't want to take up any more of your time, Terry. But I do again. I want to thank you so much for your graciousness, and I wish your club the best this year, except of course the round when they're playing the Cats,
Yeah.
which we know I believe is at the MCG if I'm not mistaken.
Sunday,
Yeah,
3:20 p.m. Yeah, I looked
there,
at it last night actually.
yeah, yeah. It's I know that Essendon is so happy to have to come down there and play a game this year, and
It's great.
I asked I did ask somebody not long ago. I asked whether or not Scott Pendlebury has ever actually been south of Werribee. Um, which they said they weren't sure if he ever had. Uh, but I wish you all the best, man. And thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Craig.
You bet. Cheers. All right, Terry. Hey, man, thanks so very much for sitting down to chat. I truly appreciate it. Great to hear about your trip to Thailand and everything that you had going on there. Just, it's kind of fun following your journey on social media because you get to do some phenomenal things, and it's really, really awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, you can find everything about my podcast over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. I do hope you'll subscribe over there so you get on the mailing list that when new episodes come out, they'll be in your inbox. If you enjoyed the show, one, I hope you'll share it with your friends. Two, I hope you'll take a moment and leave a review. You can do that right on my website as well. It gives me some street credibility, if you will, because again, there are a lot of people that still are scratching their heads about the fact that there are Americans that love your game and are so appreciative that you're sharing it with us. And since I can't come knock on doors over there, I do need your help with that. So if you could tell a few friends about it, maybe post an episode here or there, one of your favorites, that'd be awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, look out for one another. Check up on your friends. Reach out to them. Give them a call if you need to. If you need to speak to somebody, those numbers, both for the United States and Australia, are in the show notes of every episode of my podcast. The world is a much, much better place with you in it. So if you need to speak to somebody, please do that. Okay? We all have issues that we're dealing with. I've mentioned that in several episodes here over the last 6 or 8 weeks as I've been getting back on the horse, so to speak, because I've had a very, very rough end of 2024 and start to 2025. But check up on those friends. Get out and have that coffee. All right. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. And this has been episode 377. Again, please share the episode with your friends and family. Give me a follow on my socials at Yank_on over on X. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, on YouTube as well. And actually with the ladder prediction episode, you're probably going to want to watch that one on YouTube because I think it's going to be a much better show than it will be on audio. I'll try to make it as great as I can on audio, but on video, it should be a lot of fun. So cheers, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.